I'm Yvonne Hamoud, registered social worker and owner of New Moon Counseling, but out of the office, I'm a mom, wife, daughter, sister, and friend. Join me each week as I sit with a special guest to discuss everyday things that impact our mental health. We'll be chatting about everything from mental health and relationships to media and current events, as well as personal experiences and reflections, all in the hopes of normalizing our humanness and helping you see that you're not alone. This is Outside the Therapy Room. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Outside the Therapy Room. Lisette is back. Hi, Lisette.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I had a very odd morning where my errands actually went faster than I anticipated. So
What? That never happens.
No. It always feels like you're running late all the time. But no, it worked out this morning. So
yeah.
Yay.
I know, that's a win. Thank you so much for being back here.
Yeah.
As some folks may remember, you were here in season 1 talking a little bit about postpartum doula and what that looks like. And now you are back to talk a little bit more about postpartum health, mental health. But is there any updates, any kind of changes or little tiny introduction you want to give to folks?
Not much has changed. I'm still doing peer support, postpartum support, one-on-one support, postpartum planning. I don't know if I had a brand refresh, so everything feels a little bit more authentically me and less trying to like fit into the like calm, neutral colors that tend to go along with doulas.
Yeah.
Of course, the hair went purple, like everything. Living more authentically, I think, is like a big change that's happened this year.
Yeah, that's important too for your brand.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause it's you. You want it to be you.
Yeah, of course. And it works, and it's just so much more like postpartum doesn't have to be a season where you need soft and calm. Sometimes you need joyful, cheerful colors too. So that's sort of where I went.
That's awesome. Well, you spoke a little bit about this already. We are talking today about the importance of peer support in postpartum. And I know you mentioned it last time too, you run some peer support groups. But yeah, we're going to talk and dive a little bit more into that today because the postpartum period can be so isolating. I'm sure, again, we've talked about this before in our episode and in different episodes. Like, there's just so much happening. There's so much overwhelm. Your body just went through so much, trauma. It can be, big things happening to your body, and it can be filled with so much uncertainty. And so during those times, it can be really hard to kind of feel that sense of connection. So, like you pointed out, you work really closely with many new parents, many new moms. So what do you notice about maybe how support or the lack of it impacts the postpartum experience?
It's definitely that isolation feeling. And then feeling, I think, that a lot of parents struggle with is this idea of the things that they should do. And when you don't have support, it makes it so much more. There's more shoulds. Like, I should be able to handle a screaming baby. I should be able to manage without sleep. And I think that also keeps us from asking for support outside of, family support, close friend support. We just get into this idea that we should be able to do it alone. Society is so individualist that we don't have that idea of the village, or our first thought when somebody has a baby isn't to bring them food or to offer to pick up groceries or something. It's like, oh, I should leave them alone. When really that just like makes them more isolated and makes them, I don't know, we're just talking into this whole narrative and buying into it that we're supposed to do it alone. And that if we can't, then it's a sure sign of weakness, that we're a failure, that we're not good at it. Makes us second guess whether we should have done it if we can't handle it, when really we weren't supposed to do it alone.
Yeah. And I think during that time too, there's worry about burdening other people. And so for moms, it can be really hard to ask for help, ask for support. And I will say, because I remember there was a time when I didn't want any visitors coming to my house. And that was because I did want to focus on like building connection with baby and just like being with my partner in like our own little family.
Absolutely.
But it's about asking, like, and checking in with a person's need because, that was something that I needed.
Yeah.
And someone else may actually want to have people come over. So it's always about checking in with others. But you mentioned these shoulds that we ask ourselves, right? Like, I should be able to handle this alone. I should be able to manage a screaming child. I should be able to breastfeed. I should be able to do this. There's so much that kind of happens. And so having a good support system just kind of helps us reevaluate what these shoulds actually are. Yeah.
And one thing that I like to say in therapy is don't shit all over yourself.
Yes.
Because it's messy, and it doesn't help you, it doesn't help anybody else. And to speak to your piece of wanting that time alone to kind of connect with baby, you can do that and be supported. You put a cooler out on your porch and people can drop off a meal. Did they ring your doorbell? No. Did they have a conversation and a coffee with you? No. You still have that like intimate time with your partner or baby. But people are still supporting you. Or like, can you put a load of laundry out on your porch for somebody to pick up and take home? And you know, there's just all these like little things that like you don't have to have full-blown conversations with people. People understand that like you do need bonding time. You do need time to navigate it and figure it out. But there are ways that like people can come around you and support you without being in on that inner sanctum of what you're hoping to have for a little while. Because once you're out in the world, you're kind of out in the world. There's no going back to that like calm, quiet.
No,
we're in our own little cocoon. When you're ready to like go out in the world, like it's great and it's beautiful. But yeah, there are ways to like, can always be supported.
Yeah.
Whether you want people in your house hands-on all the time to wanting that like sacred time, you just have to manage that. You have to have clear plans for that.
Yeah. And like communicating with other people and with all of the things that you described, those are like physical supports, right? Like, I'm going to bring some food, give me a load of laundry. I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to clean the house, go for a walk. Like all of those things are very physical, but the emotional support is also like, give me a call if you need anything. You don't want me to come over during these times? No problem. I'm going to respect your boundary instead of bombarding you with calls and guilt tripping you that I need to see the baby, right? Like there's the emotional support that comes with it too.
Or just texting that like, I'm heading to the grocery store right now. Is there anything you need? I'll just drop it off on your porch. Like it's so easy to just be like, you just need to think about other people. Like who is going through the thick of it right now and could use that extra support. While we're doing something so mundane as like grocery shopping. It's like, oh, okay.
And nowadays, like Uber Eats, like,
right?
Let me Uber you a meal. But okay, so we talked a lot about all of the different ways that support can look like for a new mom. But what does peer support actually mean in the context of postpartum care?
So peer support is really about connection through shared experience. It's really just one parent saying to another one, I've been there. It's not so much about giving advice or telling people what they're supposed to be doing, because that just, adds more shoulds. It's more about just like listening, validating, and helping people feel less alone. Because, we just talked about how isolating welcoming a new baby can be. And it really kind of fits in the space between like professional care and your friends and your family kind of support, where somebody with that lived experience can sort of walk alongside you through the messy, beautiful parts, as you start your journey into parenthood.
And I imagine like people that are in the support group or like have had those experiences happen either at the exact same time, so they're kind of at the same stage of their postpartum or close to it. And so, that kind of lived experience that we're both kind of going through it together, the sleepless nights, the, baby recessions, like all of those things kind of going through them together.
Yeah. In the group I'm running right now, I've had babies from 6 weeks to almost a year old. So to say that people have been through it, like they have, like there's people who are just starting, there's people who are a couple months out of that, and being able to look back and be like, oh, I was in the thick of it. I've totally been there and I know how much it sucks. But like, I'm here now. Like, this is where I am now. This is what it looks like. things did get better, and like having that
Hope
and that like sort of proof for our brains when they're not quite functioning right is just also so great. Just to be like, oh, baby is 6 weeks old. There's a baby over there that's even just like 4 months old. So like 6 weeks older, like how much of a difference there's gonna be. Just in like those little bit of weeks. So yeah, I think having all these people together with that shared experience and like being a facilitator who's also been through it, you can kind of help people walk through supporting each other. It's not so much me always facilitating and asking questions and like keeping the conversations going. Most of the time it's just me sitting back and like making sure that people don't trauma dump, or, you know, if there is a bit of a lull, to kind of let there be. Sometimes it's just sitting in that quiet, like letting people think through what has just been talked about. But holding space for that. I am happy to sit in awkward silences, which is not a thing that people enjoy. But like those awkward silences is usually when people are, like things are clicking in their heads, and then all of a sudden you're just like, somebody will come out with something profound, or, you know, like, oh, I get it now, you know. Those kind of things.
Yeah. We also, as therapists, love the quiet, awkward silences. Clients are squirming and they're seeming like, say something.
This is awkward. No, it's not. It's, you know, like as...
Or it can be, but too bad. We have to sit through it. It does kind of get the gears going, and it gives you time to reflect on what just happened. So
yeah. To like be able to like see people just kind of like have these moments of like, oh, or like, oh, right, or me too, or like, okay, things are gonna get better, or oh, that's new, like I need to process the 4-month sleep regression now that I'm almost there, and like didn't know about it for somehow, and you know, just things computing in your brain.
Yeah, we need that pause sometimes. How does peer support differ from like family support or clinical support?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's different. It's different. Like therapy is that like professional evidence-based space where you can process your experiences and mental health concerns. It's very valuable. But there are cases where therapy isn't accessible or ongoing. If you can't afford it, or if you do get into something subsidized, sometimes it's only 6 or 8 weeks, which is still great. But this is where like peer support sort of sits. It's less formal, a little bit more relational. It's definitely more about shared lived experience and mutual understanding rather than that therapist-client dynamic. It's different.
No, it definitely is. I mean, you know, as a therapist, the sessions that I have with clients and with new moms, it is the sole focus is on them. And, you know, even there's still like boundaries and things like that as a therapist we have to keep. And so it's just, again, like 1 hour every other week or every month. And that's not enough care that a mom may need, especially during those like 2 a.m. feedings when maybe they really just want to text somebody and be like, oh, you're awake too because you're feeding your baby. Like, it's not the same thing. So the sense of community that peer support can give it can be a great addition to therapy, or it's there as a really great way to kind of have the support that you need when therapy might not be as accessible.
It's peer support definitely is not a replacement for therapy. Like there are some cases where it's a bit deeper than what peer support can handle or can manage. You know, like we don't always keep it light and fluffy in peer support, but I can't diagnose, I can't, you know, I don't have this skill set that a therapist has. I am merely somebody who is also a parent who has gone through postpartum mood disorder struggles, and who just gets it, and won't be fazed by things that people say. It's kind of like, just tell me what's going on. Nothing will shock me. Just like I've heard it all. I've probably experienced a lot of it. Because with 2 kids, you go through such different whirlwinds with each of them, especially if you have had like mental health struggles, then you definitely have ever experienced like the craziness, the ups and downs of emotions and mental health struggles too.
And how is it different from family support, family help?
Family can be great. I feel like this is just heading into this no man's land of talking about family when it comes to welcoming a baby.
Yeah.
Support can come with judgment. It can come with expectations. It can be really complicated dynamics. Maybe you don't have the greatest relationship with your family members. We all sort of have heard those horror stories of the in-laws or your parents or like an aunt or somebody coming in and just having, well, I'm grandma, I should be able to like be there with you while you're giving birth, or I should be able to be there when baby comes home. Like that there's like this set expectation.
Yeah.
That they have like a privilege into your postpartum cocoon when they really don't. And peer support is kind of that rare space where you don't have to filter yourself. You can just be whatever you need in that moment. If you need to complain about your partner, you can't complain to your partner about your partner. I mean, you can, but like it's not great for your relationship. But peer support is just that place to be like, I'm really frustrated that my husband sleeps, that he doesn't have lactating breasts and he sleeps 12 hours and I'm awake all night. You know, it's just really frustrating. And I just need to say that out loud because having those moments where we're just seen in that frustration can also just be transformative. Like maybe you came into peer support and you're so charged. Like, this is like so frustrating. I hate my husband. This is all like worst thing that's ever happened to our marriage was having a kid. You say it out loud to like the group and people being all like, yeah, it really does suck. And like suddenly you're just like, okay, I've said my piece.
Yeah.
And it's just that little bit more that like
non-judgmental space where
right?
you can be heard and seen. Yeah.
Just being like, I really hate it right now. Or like I have a really overbearing mother-in-law. You know, you can't always complain to your partner or a friend, or, you know, having this space where like also there's a little bit of being anonymous in a peer support group. You don't always know people as intimately as you would a friend.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that of these people aren't going to see you on a regular basis. So speaking your truth is a little easier.
Yeah. And there's no direct relationship with people. I mean, besides maybe like a friendship or acquaintance, but it's not as, you know, quote unquote risky as saying something to a family member or an in-law or your partner, you know?
Because all it takes is your cousin to say something back to like your mom or your husband, and then you're screwed.
Whole drama. Yeah, exactly. I mean, an episode on, you know, postpartum and families, like we can just like talk about that all on its own.
Right.
But coming back to like peer support, there's so much emotion, like so much emotional benefit from having somebody who's been there. And I remember when I was a brand new mom, I didn't have a support group. I think I mentioned this in the last episode that we had together. Like, I was the first pregnant person out of like our friend group. Kind of lost touch with some of those people because our life stages were just so different at the time. And I had an app, like the, Mummy and Me app. I don't remember the name of the app, but in there was like chat. And it was anonymous. I didn't know anybody. It was anyone who was in the chat. And I remember some days being like, oh my God, is this normal? Oh my gosh, I'm feeling this way. Is that okay? My kiddo was sleeping so well, and now suddenly they suck at sleeping and I'm losing my mind. And I would put it on this chat and everybody would be like, been there. How old's your babe? They're going through a 4-month regression. Do this, or like, keep going, mama. Like, you're doing such a good job. Don't worry. There is light at the end of the tunnel. And like, that was so validating for me. And so it was like, I guess like a virtual support group of people. I had no idea who they were, but that made such a huge difference because I couldn't really go to anyone and be like, baby's not sleeping, what the F do I do?
Yeah, right?
Right? Because they're not in it, or it's been such a long time. Like if I was talking to like my mom or like my aunt or my cousin, like they had their own experience with baby and they know what they knew back then, and now we know different things. And so it was great to kind of have that validation. But it helped me emotionally because I was like, okay, there is that sense of hope, like there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I know that it's quote unquote normal for me to be feeling this way. And that, again, it makes a difference. It makes a difference when somebody's kind of communicating to you about being, or one's being in like where you're at, especially in a very challenging moment.
Yeah, and to be able to say what is going on and having that, like, it's sort of like a positive affirmation of like, I've been there too.
Yeah.
You've got this. Just hold on. Like, it's all these great things to be hearing when you're in a moment where you're struggling. And there's also something about hearing other people's stories. Like when you're sitting in a group or you're reading chat, like a virtual chat group or whatever, you're reading things, and like sometimes though reading those things are so transformative. Like you can read somebody who went through a similar situation and where they are now, or hearing somebody's story about where they are now. Like those things have the potential to change people's trajectories on how their postpartum journey is going to go.
Yeah.
Because if they suddenly are realizing, I'm not alone in this, people have done this, people are talking about this, it's okay to talk about this, it's okay to ask for help, it's okay to speak our truth and stop hiding behind the reality of what parenthood is. So yeah, these kind of spaces are just great for that as well.
Yeah, they are. We had Rhonda on a few weeks ago. We talked about like this bounce back culture. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that too, and peer support, because I'm sure like not only are we navigating, raising a little babe, keeping a little babe alive, figuring out all of these things, but we're also going through our own, maybe disconnect from our bodies. If our body's constantly being used to keep this little human alive, we can lose that connection with ourselves and with our body and all of that, which can lead to like postpartum depression and anxiety. So yeah, I guess, I'm assuming that can be a really safe space to kind of, peer support can be a safe space to talk about that too.
Yeah, I always leave everything open to discussion. So if it's about bounce back culture of I'm just not feeling like myself in my body, like I don't know whose body this is anymore, or we've gone all the way to talking about postpartum hemorrhoids and how does your body function after having a baby, because you don't realize how different, like after things have expanded and then contracted and like things just operate differently, of course. So having these spaces is definitely, I think the benefit of it is that we talk about it and then you end up laughing about it. It's just like, oh, I don't feel like whose body is this? It's like, oh yeah, like this, I don't know. Like every time I move, I fart or something, like, like it's just all of a sudden, like you end up laughing about it because it's like, it's just the reality of what our bodies are like postpartum.
Yeah. And we don't know what we don't know. Like as a first time mom, I was like, what are these things that are happening? And there was like a little shame or embarrassment about like talking to my partner about it or like bringing it up to my mom. I'm like, I don't know if like, I'm like, I pee when I jump on the trampoline. Like, is that normal? Like,
right?
Sometimes you don't know. And so having like people be like, oh yeah, like sneezing, I'm peeing myself or whatever.
Snizzing. Yeah. And it's definitely like one of those, if as a facilitator, I feel like people are kind of closed off, I find those moments of like, what is something hilarious, kind of horrible, but like there's humor in it about like postpartum that we can laugh about and just break the ice, because so much changes and people don't talk about it. And there's all this stuff that like, even as we're talking about like all these shoulds and how parenting is like this invisible labor that we're taking part in. Like the moment we start talking about it, the moment that we take away that loneliness, that need for it to be behind closed doors.
Yeah.
The more we talk about it, I think the more we lessen that feeling like we should be a certain way, or there's less mystery around parenthood when we talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we learn more and we know more. And again, like something me and Rhonda talked about was, like media and how it's portrayed pregnant women who've just had labor. And I always remember like Kate Middleton coming out of the hospital with her like blue dress, and she looked so good and so put together. And then meanwhile, like me postpartum, I'm like, hair's a mess, haven't washed it in a really long time. Like, there's all of these expectations that we can kind of create for ourselves based on what we're seeing and what's around us.
Yeah.
And so to have a group of people, you can be like, maybe like having some compassion for, what was that actually like for her to like, be in like this little dress and probably wearing diapers because she just had a baby and was leaving the hospital. Like,
Are people commenting about like her pooch that she still kind of had? It's like she just had
had
a
a freaking baby.
That
What's wrong
doesn't
with you?
that does not go away right away. Like you
No.
don't like have a baby and then you're flat stomached again. It kind of just, your literal uterus is shrinking from the size of a watermelon back to like the size of your fist. Like it's not a small thing.
No, but again, like when you don't know what's happening, when you haven't maybe had pregnant women in your life, and it's your very first experience to be pregnant yourself, and that's kind of your, what you're seeing should be the thing, or like is what you should be doing. Again, like it can actually cause more damage because we put this pressure on ourselves to be that. And so having a group of people be like, nah, it's not how it is. That's not how it's going to be. Or even, we're talking about postpartum peer support, but even like end of pregnancy peer support, like talking to people who've maybe already had their baby while you're still pregnant, you can again, like exchange stories, talk about, like, okay, well, this works this way, this works that way, this is what I did, you might want to do this or whatever. Just kind of create more conversation about it. And we learn more about what that experience actually could be like.
Yeah, I say like social media has its good parts and its bad parts because like you do see more influencers sort of giving you that snapshot into reality of like, this is actually what my house looks like on the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
And it's like a mess, or like bins of all their junk that they moved out of the way so that they had like a pristine picture, or just like the reality of like, this is what postpartum looks like. But then you do have the ones that are like, walking in meadows postpartum with their baby, and I just made some sourdough and, all this sort of like it's
and that's wonderful for them. Yeah.
Or it's curated crap. Like it's just, I always wonder what else is going on in that person's life. It's like, do they have money? Do they have nannies? Like, it's like, what else is going, like, what is their privilege behind the camera too? It's like, oh yeah, you're seeing what their social media content is, but don't forget that they like have 2 nannies and like they live with the in-laws, or I don't know.
Right. There's so much more behind the picture.
We don't know, like, does she do this and then go and cry because like she has postpartum depression, but she has to like, her should is that she has to keep up this like image. Which can be, it's there's good and bad because like you have more people talking about the reality of postpartum pregnancy, postpartum parenthood on social media. But like there's this weird balance, and like to be able to have these peer spaces too is where we can kind of debunk things of just like, you like debunk the shoulds really is what happens. It's just like, you should keep your baby alive. That is like the only should. You and your baby. That is like your job right now, and everything else, it's okay to let that go. And I think talking about the reality and getting people more comfortable with this shift in what's happened and what season of life that they're in is also important, because we're just in like this weird individualist society where women specifically have to get right back up to the standard of like what we've had to in the patriarchal society, of course, is like I should be able to have kids and continue my job and get promotions and,
Have a fresh, healthy, warm cooked meal at the end of my corporate job.
it's just some weird like 1950s housewife thing that we have kept on. And also, you need to be a successful businesswoman or a successful entrepreneur or good at your job. Like there's just like all these extra stupid layers that we've added, rather than like we should try towards equity in the home, or like equality, or whatever that looks like in your family. Like it doesn't need to be you
All on
have
one
to get
person,
all back up to this crazy standard of where you were. It's like, no, your life is just different now. There are some pieces of you that still are there, but like you've literally transformed. You are literally a different human. Your like brain changes. You have this baby now, like your dynamics at home change. So why can't every other part of your life change also?
Yeah, and again, that starts with communication and identifying our needs and figuring out what that is and what that looks like and what important. But to have a group of women who are experiencing similar things at home, like again, it just adds to that validation and can sometimes give us the courage to bring it up to our partners and to say like, you know what, actually, I haven't been feeling super great. I'm feeling disconnected in my body, or maybe I haven't really formed a connection yet with my baby and I'm feeling a lot of guilt about that and I need your support. And so sometimes like, I'm assuming like peer support, again, like for me, it was so helpful and validating and it can give you this like extra courage of like, you got this, you can communicate, you can ask for what you need, you can ask for support, and it can look different each day too, because who knows, each day we might need something different.
Or if you do need to talk to your partner about something, it's so much easier to say, oh, somebody at peer group today was talking about this with their partner. And, I feel like we should also talk about it. Like you can kind of bring it into conversation of like, it's this other thing. It's not like I want this dynamic shift. It's like, oh, this couple did this thing where they, looked at the chores that we do around the house, and they actually like took everything kind of individually and who could actually be responsible for that, and like divided things up, maybe not evenly, but in a way that better served them, to let the mom and baby have time together or more sleep, or just to feel like they're less of a burden, because if you suddenly can't do stuff because you just had a baby, there's that guilt piece too that can come in of like, I'm not doing my job, I'm not hitting all the things I used to do.
Yeah.
So it kind of can help you feel, if you bring in that other story from peer group, it kind of can also sort of open up doors of conversations too.
Yeah. So for somebody who feels alone after having a baby, like where can they start in terms of like finding peer support networks?
I'd say start small.
Yeah.
If you know somebody who's had a baby, reach out to them. Just start with one person. Second, I'd say look for local peer support groups. Talk to local doulas. We tend to know where local resources are, where the support groups are at. And to find online spaces that are really supportive and not a space where you feel like you have to perform. Also, be careful of those online spaces. Sometimes they're not moderated, so they can get into that like judgmental kind of space. But for example, like the Mamas for Mamas KW group has moderators, people.
Like Facebook group?
Yeah, it's a Facebook group. Sorry, that's a Facebook group. And it's great. There's a great group of moderators who make sure people stay on topic and don't like make mean comments. You can also post things if you're searching for something that you need for your baby, or people will post stuff that you can get for free. It's just a great community to be involved with, and it's free. Yeah, and showing up in person feels like too much. It's really okay. Sometimes our first step is just admitting to ourselves that, I need some support. I need some help. For me, when I had my first, it was really hard for me to go to the one support group that existed. It was outside of my house. And my anxiety made me afraid to take my daughter anywhere. So going to a peer support group that was in person was hard. There weren't virtual options. I mean, that's the one good thing out of the pandemic, is that there's all these virtual support groups. There's like international support groups and all these different things that exist now that didn't exist back just 8 years ago. So I was just terrified to leave because I had this anxiety that spoke to me saying that, like, if I went somewhere, she would cry. And I had, like, the worst time with her crying. It was so anxiety-inducing, so rage-inducing, that I was, like, terrified people were going to think I was a bad parent and take my daughter away from me. Like, that was what my reality was. And it took me a really long time to become comfortable with taking my daughter out, even when she was a bit older, when we introduced a second child. It still was such a barrier for me. And now this past weekend, I took that 8-year-old to Stratford to see Annie for the first time, like to go to a theater for the first time. And to be able to tell myself that, of like looking back, of like, I was this kid who was afraid to go anywhere, or I was so afraid to go anywhere with my kid, I just took her for like the drive from KW to Stratford.
Yeah.
To see a show as the solo parent,
That's amazing.
and to be able to like have that in my back pocket now, of just like, I still have these moments where I'm just like, I've grown, I've changed, like things are so much better. And to be able to have that as like the thing I use as like a tool of like, look at where I was and where I am now. Like you will change, things will get better.
Yeah.
That's tangent.
No, I love that. And that's so important too, because like at the time there can be so much darkness in that, right? And yes, out of the pandemic, there are so much more, like things are so much more accessible. So there's always virtual options to things, but
even therapists,
even
like
therapy.
It's just so many opportunities for support now that didn't exist 8 years ago, 5 years ago. Like,
yeah, but even sharing your story is helpful, because it does, like, when we are in such a dark postpartum state, we can kind of like narrow our view in just to like what we're experiencing, and it's hard to see any way out. And so kind of sharing that story, that at one point it was hard for you to get out of the house, and now you went to go and see Annie with your daughter. First of all, like, that just sounds like a really fun experience, but
it was great. Like, we went out to like, of all the places in Stratford, like all these great little restaurants. She's like, I want to go to Stacked, like the pancake place. Because she's like, I want some chocolate chip pancakes. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But like to just have that one-on-one time to like, and also like keeping my phone away, like really intentional time with her was just like, I'm like, you're a cool kid. Like I knew that, but like actually having that one-on-one time that I don't get as often anymore with my first, it was so nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. So make sure that you find, other resources, other ways to kind of start if you're a new parent. I will say the judgmental thing, yes, for online groups, but also for in-person groups and people. So just be mindful of like, who you are going to for that kind of peer support that you're looking for, and also what you need, because you might have a friend who has like 3 kids and is doing all of this, and that is a person that you go to with certain needs. And there may be another mom who has more similar parenting that you do, or that you want to kind of get into. And so you might go to that parent for for different kind of needs. So just be mindful of like who you're kind of surrounding yourself with in those moments and who you're going to for that kind of support.
If you don't feel good after, maybe it's not a great peer support.
Yes. Yeah. Listen to your body. Listen to how you feel. If you feel more drained after, also maybe a sign that maybe that wasn't the best place to kind of go. We talked about this a little bit previously in our previous episode, but how can friends and family show up better during postpartum?
I think communication is so key for how friends and family can show up. Having conversations prenatally while you're still pregnant with the people who are around you. What do you want from them? What are they expecting? What are the boundaries that need to be set? And have those kind of conversations, because when you're in the thick of it and things are really crummy, to know that like you can call on these people for different things. Like maybe there's a family member who wants to be involved, but you aren't really comfortable with them being with you when you just come home from the hospital. Like, can you set a boundary that they can bring you food and leave it on your porch? What are, like, just set the expectations, I think is really great, because, and as friends and family, the thing that they can do the most is to listen to those boundaries and to respect them. And to be willing to actually step up and help. Because so often people are like, oh, just give us a call if you need anything. It's like, well, if I give you a call when I need something, I need you to follow through on that. Because for somebody in the thick of it, struggling maybe, for somebody to say, no, I can't do that right now, is that going to stop them from asking for help in the future? Is what my fear is. So it's just like... It's like, if you can't do it right now, you say like, I can't do it right now, but maybe I can do it tomorrow. Or, you know, I know your aunt, whoever is free today, so can they pick that up for you? Or, you know, don't shut people down, because you might have been that one moment where they were feeling good enough to ask for help.
Vulnerable enough to ask for help.
Vulnerable enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so important.
So I think we forget about that. It's like, oh, all this practical stuff I could tell you, you can do. You can, but like the thing is like respect boundaries and be open to actually following through on requests for help, and realizing that in those moments where they're asking for help, your family member, your friend is being super vulnerable. Yeah. Especially, we've talked about this whole society where the expectation is we should be doing it in isolation. So help to maintain this idea that like it doesn't have to be alone. We can have a village, we can have a community, we can have like a circle of support.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. We are going to have like on the show notes any kind of peer support group resources. I know that you run your own peer support group, so we'll put information on that for folks to, you know, check in and see when the next opening is for that. But is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with? Maybe like one message about postpartum peer support. What would it be?
I think the biggest thing I want to leave with folks is that care doesn't end when baby arrives. We often get so surrounded in our pregnancy, going to prenatal classes, going to, you know, building community with other people who are pregnant, or making plans for our deliveries. So often planning for postpartum doesn't happen, or it's very minimal. Postpartum care isn't a luxury or a nice to have thing. It's really essential. That includes peer support. That includes finding your people, finding a place where you can feel supported.
Your community, your village,
Yeah, and parents deserve the ongoing support, their time to recover, of course, but also spaces where they can talk about what's going on without feelings of shame or judgment. It's really not about being strong alone. It's about being supported together as a community. And I think that's really what would be great to make more important for people when they're thinking about their postpartum, is where are those support groups? Where can I find community? As well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And again, we'll have all of the information for where you can find Lisette's peer support group as well as other support groups in our region. But if you are outside of the Waterloo region, just a quick Google search of peer supports near me is going to find you some supports that you can kind of get to for your journey with motherhood as well. Lisette, where can people find you?
So I'm on social media at Postpartum Sidekick. And from there you can find all of my Fridays Nurture and Thrive support circle. I also run a monthly coffee meetup where we just show up at a coffee shop, me and some fellow doulas, meet up with some moms and babies, and we just hang out. Let us hold your babies while you drink coffee hot and chat with other moms. It's been a great little group that we've had every month.
Yeah.
But also I like to amplify things that are going on, other support groups that folks are running. I know there's a couple doula businesses that also run some free support groups as well. So
yeah, we'll put your social media handle on our show notes as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, as always, it's been such a pleasure having you back and talking about this, and hopefully, we're leaving some folks with some wisdom and reminding moms that you don't have to do it alone and you can get support. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And make sure to follow us on Outside the Therapy Room Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And stay tuned next week. We will be talking about body-focused repetitive behaviors. So if you're interested in that, make sure to catch our episode next week. But thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Outside the Therapy Room. This podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. If you reside in Ontario and are interested in working with one of our therapists, please visit our website in the show notes. If you reside outside of Ontario, a quick Google search or search through Psychology Today will help you find a therapist near you.